If I could describe the Get My Life tour in one word, it would be vulnerability. Showing up for yourself is so important. Hey, y'all, and welcome to the Get My Life tour. It is a pleasure to be taking center stage with you. As always, I am so excited that you decided to show up for yourself and take center stage with me, and to take center stage in your life, to be present, to be attentive, and to truly show up in ways that you have not before. I am so hyped because this is just not another episode, another stop on the Get My Life tour. This is actually episode 50. 50. Oh my gosh. I feel like dropping bombs like Funk Flex. Boom, 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 boom. I don't even know how to make the sound other than like the little horn. But I am elated. Episode 50. I envisioned so much when I thought about what, this milestone stop on a Get My Life tour will look like. And, I had no idea that there would be a shelter in place mandate and COVID-19 and just spending so much of my time on tour here on the West Coast. If you would have told me that was the thing, I would have been like, no, I'll probably be traveling for work or living my life in Harlem in the summertime, whatever the case may be. But it's not. I'm here, and life is just not what any of us imagined. Thus forth, the Get My Life tour. I just had to take a deep breath because 50 means so many different things to me. My goodness. I'm thinking about the moments where I was thinking about how to describe where I was when I originally came up with this idea for the Get My Life tour. I go back to New York, September 2017. And I am just brought back to my last day at work. No one on my team being at work. No one on my team being at work on my last day intentionally, okay? And it was a small team. So I had all this time and I was just sitting on the floor with myself and people were walking past looking sorry for me because no one was there to say goodbye. I just come from HR, returned my cell phone, had a short conversation about, what my next steps would be and what life would look like. And then I took a lunch break and I was like, why am I here? Why? I'm so integral. Like, why am I still here? I'm taking a lunch break and no one's here to manage me. Okay. All right. Let me just finish strong. Right. And I went down and I walked through the market in the Rockefeller Center Plaza. And there was this beautiful assortment of dahlia flowers. They'd come from upstate New York, fresh from the farm, been cut the morning of, and driven to Midtown. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to get these flowers. And I don't care how much they cost. I'm just going to get them. And I remember picking out this beautiful arrangement of flowers. And they were put together so nicely. I paid over $30 for this bouquet of flowers. But I remember saying, okay, I'm going to bloom where I'm planted. I'm going to start fresh. This is going to be great. Like my next phase in life is going to be even more beautiful and wonderful than this bouquet. So I'm going back there for a minute because that is when I began to say, oh, I'm going to get my life tour. It was at that moment, I figured, okay, I need to literally get my life. And I'm so glad that no one was there from that team on my last day. At first, I felt a little slighted. And then I was just like, I actually have peace I couldn't imagine having to smile or tiptoe or have short conversations with people who I really wasn't interested in anymore at that point. I was able to just exit gracefully. And then also, have this beautiful arrangement waiting for me. And it's so interesting. I came back up from my lunch break, and the same people who were walking past looking at me all pitiful then saw this arrangement on my desk. And they were like, wow, who got you flowers? Those are beautiful. Where'd you get them from? So I was answering their questions. And, in short, I shared that I bought them for myself and that I just wanted, something fresh and beautiful as I was leaving. And I'll never forget the looks on people's faces when they heard my response. They knew it was time for me to go. When I think about a number of the conversations that I've had with phenomenal guests here on the Get My Life tour, letting go has been a common theme, right? In order to go from one stop to the next, you have to pack and keep it moving. But in that process, you have to let some things go. There are people who say, oh, you're only as good as your last X, Y, and Z. I don't believe that to be true about the Get My Life tour or any of my experiences. I'm always building to, be healthy, be whole, of course, be better, but just be, right? And in that moment, when I think about those flowers sitting on my desk, I was just being. I didn't need anyone else around me to just be. And I knew that I had to let go. So when I sit down with women here on the Get My Life tour, men, I know you're listening, more gentlemen to come, I just think about the importance of letting go and knowing when it is time to actually get ready to pack for the next stop on your tour. I believe that looks so many different ways for a number of us, but there are things that we know that are nudging us and that we can pay attention to and be mindful of as we go from one stop to the next. Oh my goodness. I'm so hyped, y'all. Like, I am so hype. Like, I'm going to be focused this stop on the tour, but I need you to know that this is going to be a download. I really feel the need to reflect on my experience over the last year. Because yes, this is episode 50, but it has also formally been a year since I have been on tour. And this is major for me because what was once an idea or what was birthed out of pain has really turned into something so beautiful. When you push past the pain and the disappointment and all of these broken expectations, there is often something, golden. Okay, so before I go any further, and I'm aiming to be as organized in my thought and the flow of this conversation as possible, I just want to take time to sincerely thank you and each and every person who has tuned in. I don't take it lightly that someone is taking time out of their day to listen to the things that I'm saying and to those who I invite here on tour with me. Listening is so hard to do. We have so many distractions. There's so many things vying for our attention. So the fact that you decide to hit download or subscribe or whatever the case may be and then listen with your heart is major to me. So thank you so much for tuning in. I also have to thank all of the women who have been here on tour with me. Look, I am someone who is an expert storyteller. I have, reported for these national outlets. So having access to people is a privilege that I have. And it's something that I also do not take lightly. But when I first started thinking my life tour, I was like, okay, who is going to want to talk to me about getting their lives and showing up for themselves and being vulnerable and taking center stage with me? I'm not sure. And I wasn't certain because I've had an experience where, well, I've had a number of experiences where people were more interested in being connected to me because of the organizations or the publications that I were connected to than me as the storyteller, right? I take pride in being able to communicate effectively and truly be blessed as someone who is privileged to be able to be entrusted with people's stories and then amplify them, right? I know that, there are so many people out there, so many different voices, but the fact that women have said yes to coming on this podcast with me has been a wonderful experience. It has sharpened my skills as a storyteller, as a podcaster, right? As someone who secures talent and edits my podcast and produces my podcast, all these different things. So I want to say thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. It is truly a blessing to have had the conversations that I've had and to be able to go deeply with these women. Okay. I need to just go ahead and sound them off. Okay. Akila Kade, thank you for speaking to me about remaining whole in broken places. Oh my gosh, Mika Branch, CEO and co-founder of Miss Jessie's. Thank you for showing up the way that you did. Ashley Blanco, my sister. Oh, y'all have heard so much about Ashley, but that's this. Okay. I have one biological sister and literally hundreds of Bennett sisters and sorority sisters and women who I'm in relationship with. But I have one biological sister and she holds me down. So thank you so much, Ashley. She pushed me to hit the publish button on the Get My Life tour and go public with this, like so many other women. But I had to say thank you. Oh my gosh. We talked about sisterhood and it being an inside job. That was a really good episode. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Elise Patterson, the man of your dreams +1. Oh, we are not getting younger and people are coming with kids. You know what I'm saying? Some people 1 kid, others 2, 5, 7, 11. I'm not sure what your story may be, but I always had this question about being able and willing to be in a relationship with a man with a child or children. And she really broke it down for me. Oh my gosh, such a refreshing conversation and perspective. Elise Patterson, thank you so much. Oh, you were so dope. Lisa Fancified. Oh my gosh, Fancy. Thank you for speaking to me, or speaking with me about having non-negotiable confidence. If you want to see confidence manifested, look up Fancified, okay? She's so dope, so encouraging, and so about the business of being who she is. That was a great conversation. And I learned so much from her often. I adopted her after meeting her once. She stopped me in the hallway while I was working and she was like, let's stay connected and I can see X, Y, and Z happening and blah, 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 blah. And she's a woman of her word. So Fancy, I love you, girl. Okay. Next, my soror. Oh my gosh, my soror. I love you. Natasha Benjamin. We spoke about having the faith to live and love while grieving. Oh, that was a very rich conversation, a heartwarming conversation, but also very eye-opening about grief and caring and caregiving for a parent who is ill. Oh, that was a golden conversation. A lot of us, those of us who are fortunate to still have parents, right? We go through so much with our parents. In the words of Jay-Z, children or no, excuse me, adults are children who grow up to remember, or children are adults who grow up to remember, something like that. Google it. I don't know. But I say that to say we have so many different experiences with our parents, and they've had their experiences as children, as adults, and with their parents, and all these other things. But there's so much to learn when the roles are reversed. So that was a really good conversation. So Natasha, thank you so much for showing up and being vulnerable. That was not an easy conversation to have, and we had it. And I'm just so glad that we were able to truly, sit down and open our hearts for that conversation. Oh my goodness. Okay. This one right here was good. Now, I'm a low key. Well, I'm a dancer. Okay. I'm not going to say what kind of dancer I am. I'm a dancer. I love different styles of dance. But on the stop of the tour with Audrey Cash about allowing yourself to be stretched, she is a trap yoga and twerk yoga instructor in Atlanta. And it was so good to talk about the liberation of Black women through dance and how it is that we need to stretch ourselves, literally, physically, right? But also mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all these different ways so that we can go and walk through our life and have this great posture. It was a really dope conversation. And I love talking about all things Black women, liberation, dance, and just being free. It is so important to stretch and be free. That was good. Okay, so now, if you realize, I'm going through the episodes of the Get My Life Tour where I had guests. I mean, I've also had great conversations here, solo episodes where I talked about being the joy you need, sitting things out, adjusting your crown, giving yourself credit, going the distance for yourself, and, how to make your way through the crowd and all these other things. But I have to give these ladies this prop because it is always a pleasure to be able to sit down and learn from other people, right? I often talk about having this experience in life where life poses these questions that we don't have the answers to, and they just come at us, right? We can be doing one thing and here comes the question, and that may look like a relationship or, loss or abundance or whatever the case may be, something that we just do not understand that we're all of a sudden faced with. And I believe that here on this tour and having conversations with different people, I've been able to get some of those answers, right? And I've truly been blessed by divine timing, right, in the Most High, to be able to have these conversations. These are questions that I have, right? And people always ask me, how do you come up with your topics? They just come to me. They're things that I've prayed about before. These are things, some of the subject matters or topic matters are things that, guests bring to me. And I'm like, you know what? We need to go there. Or they may have been things that have come up in conversation with, friends of mine who then, come on the podcast. And I'm like, okay, well, do you want to talk about that? Because I know that is deep and close to your heart, but somebody else may be waiting to hear, how it is that you are navigating that. I say all of that to say that I'm super grateful for the ways in which women have been showing up. I started this podcast with the intention to help others on their journey. And naturally, I have spoken to a number of women. I always, have to say, okay, men to come. I've been having these conversations with men as well, which will soon go live. But, I've been a cheerleader for, different sports. I've played on different teams. And one of the things that I've paid attention to over the course of my life is this thread where empowering other women has been extremely important to me. Having deep and intimate conversations with women and showing up for them, finding ways to support them has been something that I've always done. As a child, in high school, just throughout, my K through 12 experience. And then in college, femininity has been extremely important to me, not having experienced that truly prior, I don't know, I guess until high school, right? Where I pursued pageantry and things of that nature, and then going off into college and being a part of the Queen's Association, but really learning about my femininity beyond the aesthetic, right? That energy and what sisterhood and womanhood means. Whew, I know that's a lot, but feminine energy naturally has manifested into this podcast. And, in the first 50 episodes, I believe that it is fitting that we have had these conversations as women and that men have listened with their hearts and have been receptive, right? I am not a feminist. I tell people that all the time, but there is an order of respect, and I'm so grateful that I've been blessed with, the divine feminine, and it has shaped the tone of a lot of our conversations and has really set the standard for what is expected when people come on tour and when I show up, right? This is not something that I can play with. This is not something that I have played with or have taken lightly. So in short, thank you to the women who I've named thus far who have taken center stage with me and for being who you are, right? I've also had the pleasure of sitting down with my line sister, my Bennett sister, Jillian Lynham, who spoke about what her graduate school experience was, pursuing her PsyD, right? So many of us are told to be doctors and lawyers and this and that or whatever and go to school. All these societal norms and pressures and, family standards. And then we realize, oops, there's another calling on my life. And it's not even like, oops, it's just like an aha moment. It was a really good conversation. It was one that we kept having, and I was like, okay, look, Jill, you got to come on the podcast and talk about this because there are so many of us I'm not longer there, right? But there are a number of people in their mid 20s, late 20s, early 20s, or whatever the case may be. And you are impressionable. You may be impressionable. Let's say that you might be impressionable and are being swayed in one direction in your calling and your passion and your purposes, leading to another. So it's like, which one do I follow? If you checked out that podcast, Jillian was incredible in sharing her experience. Okay. So next we talked about art and ambition. Living off the canvas. Oh, that was a good one for all my artsy people, all my creatives, artists. And oh my gosh, Addie War. She is so dope. An incredible artist and illustrator and entrepreneur. And it was a great way to really kick off season 2 with her. Now, this was good. How to live in style on your own terms with Stacey Michelle, another tour of mine who is so dope. She's a media host and personality, all these things based in Charlotte. We think about the ways in which we show up and why being presentable, especially as Black women, is so important. We had that conversation and I really was just like, you know what? I have to give it up for Stacey because she always looks fly, but there's always a reason for why people show up the way they do. So that was great. Oh my gosh. How did I breeze over this one? Okay. This by far was one of the most popular stops on the Get My Life tour. And I think it's because we're often in the place of transition. And this episode was with Randy B. Randy B is a firecracker out here in the Bay Area and just nationally known for her work in diversity. And we spoke about how to celebrate transitions as wins. Now, let me tell you something. I often feel like I'm in transition, but I had not been able to celebrate them as wins, right? It's one thing when you're going from one thing to the next and you feel like it's bigger, right? It's better. But when you have to hit the reset button or the pause button or just the stop button and think of ways to transition, it can be scary. Oh my gosh. And Randy and I connected, and I was like, okay, let's see what we can have a conversation about. And when I tell you, it was just magical the first time we had a conversation, and I knew that I wanted to ask her these questions I had because I knew I was getting ready to be in transition. And she really left it all on the stage. She said so many things that resonated with women. It was incredible. Randy is also this woman who is a mother, a wife. It is established, but always looking to reinvent and stay relevant, right? Not in a chameleon-like way. She was also my first guest who was at the lovely, fiery, and 50 age mark. And I felt like I was truly speaking with someone who had been there and done that and was still opening to learning and growing and excited about, the trail that she was blazing. And I felt like so many people received that energy as well. So Randy B, thank you so much. Oh, I cannot wait to make more magic with you. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so this has been great. All right, so confidence is the currency you need. Ashley Kirkwood, she is incredible. She's a lawyer. She is someone who is extremely confident, and she talked about confidence as a currency. I'm here for it. I am so glad that we did. And look, if you want to learn anything about confidence and how to tell your story and how to protect yourself, she's someone who you need to speak with, okay? I also spoke with two young women who I love dearly, childhood friends, people who I consider to be family. And that was Ronisha Johnson and Rahima Calloway. Oh my gosh, we spoke about having one another's backs, right? I got you, sis. They're also entrepreneurs and the founders of the Vegan Hood Chefs. They are truly budding entrepreneurs, right? Even though they've been at it for a while, this business is taking off as they teach others about nutrition and health and how to live healthful lifestyles, right? And healthier lifestyles. I also spoke with Morgan Owens about how to find your sparkle. Morgan, thank you. She is so dope. I love her. My gosh. Look. Trust and believe as you pivot. Another soror of mine, Shay M. Lawson, Esquire. She talked about how to protect yourself, right? And how to truly trust and believe your process as you pivot, right? I can't thank her enough because so many of us during this pandemic have been there. And it's just like, okay, so what's next? And it's like, sometimes you just don't know. But when you're trusting and you're believing, you're paying attention to patterns, you almost become more grateful, right? And that gratitude sets you up for your next. Oh, this was a good one. Okay, so Faith Without Works is Dead. Faith Without Works is Dead was with Monique Rodriguez, who's the founder and CEO of Mael Organics. I really appreciate when I'm able to speak with women who are CEOs, right? And it's not because they're far few and in between, but it is because it is to truly be appreciated when they have the time to share with you because they are running a business. This woman is a CEO. She is a wife, a mother, and is, pouring into other entrepreneurs. So for her to share her journey, she spoke about losing her child and finding her purpose and pivoting, honestly, right into the hair care industry and, things that she's learned over the years and ways in which she's trying to give back. Monique Rodriguez, thank you for saying yes to the Get My Life tour. And thank you for showing up. Okay. Now, I am someone who loves vision boards. I've always had hosting in different forms of it, like cutouts of someone on a TV doing commentating or a microphone, or, Tyra Banks when she had a TV show, whatever the case may be. And I remember thinking, okay, I have to have a strategy for this vision board. And then there was someone who followed me on Instagram, and her handle was A Woman with Vision. I was like, what is this? Or actually her handle on Instagram at first was Vision Boards Over Brunch. And I thought that was so dope. Her name, the founder and CEO of A Woman with Vision Boards Over Brunch, is Lydia Lipkins. And Lydia is someone who is big on execution. And we talked about how to go from vision to manifestation. And it was truly what I needed at the time, right? I think a lot of us create these vision boards or just have these goals in mind for ourselves, and we don't really have the strategy to execute. And we had that conversation, and it truly was what I needed, okay? If you need to have some fire lit up under you as it relates to what you think is a goal of yours or a plan of yours, listen to that Stop on the Tour, okay? Because she got me together, okay? All right. So a few more guests, bear with me. Oh, Lauren Rosamiller, generational wealth, legacy, and responsibility. Such a rich conversation, all puns intended. Lauren Rosamiller is a young entrepreneur, CEO, boss, all these things. And her story is so incredible. I get excited because, they say that generational legacy and wealth is fleeting in our community. And while the facts are the facts, there are still families who are carrying the torch. And then you have Lauren Rosamiller, who is helping others who may not have necessarily had the same experience, pick up a torch of their own so that they can, carry it and light it for the next generations. Lauren Rosamiller is doing her own thing. She has a lot going on with, all of her work and her initiatives to teach others. She's dope. Check out that stop on the Get My Life Tour. Okay, now, Shia Thousand. She is the founder and CEO of CT Wellness, and she's so dope. We talked about how to hold space for yourself, especially after traumatic experiences or just any moment where you felt burned out. I will never forget on a pre-show call with Shia, we were having a conversation about our journeys and experiences in the Get My Life Tour. And she said to me, what you're doing is great. And, she said all these other things that I just can't paraphrase, right? But they were so profound and they really resonated with me. But what really stuck with me is what she told me. And she said, if you're not getting your life, you're settling. And I was like, you know what? Okay, look. I'm going to have to put that on a t-shirt or something because it's real, and when she said it to me, I was so grateful because when we talk about showing up for ourselves, right, it's not about being in dress rehearsal for some big moment. I believe it is the daily practice of being who it is that we need. Right? And when we are in community with ourselves, we're able to better be in community with others and to love others, right? This is why the Get My Life Tour is what it is. So Shia, thank you so much for that word, and thank you for showing up. Okay, so my final guest thus far has been Elisa Gums. Elisa Gums is an incredible woman. She's a soar of mine. She is someone who often pours into me. And I remember having a conversation with her about just life, love, and relationships. And then we began to speak about fertility. And I was so blessed by the conversation because I am now in my 30s. And I have never thought about the intricacies of motherhood, Right? I think we think about these ideas we have in our heads about what our relationships will look like, who we'll be in relationship with, and, this just natural experience of having children. And then we begin to hear these conversations about egg counts and fertility and all these other things. But you truly don't often hear about the real experiences that women, Black women especially, have when it comes to their fertility journey. So being able to have a conversation last year in an airport in Las Vegas while being delayed with Elisa, and then here on the Get My Life tour was, oh my, it was a very, I don't even know what to say. I don't have the words for it, but it was a very intimate conversation and a great experience to be able to share the stage with Elisa. So Elisa Gomes, thank you so much. I know you just sat through a lot of my thank yous, right? But it's so important to give people their flowers, right? I felt like I was center stage handing out flowers and awards for people showing up and being vulnerable. I had to take the time to do that at 50 because, at 75, 100, 2,000, when the Get My Life tour is selling out arenas and I'm taking center stage with Michelle Obama, I don't want to take for granted the women who said, you know what, admission is free. Let me show up. Let me come with you, right? There are so many different stages in our lives that we have to take, right? Depending on where we are in life. And those who are behind stage, those who are front row center in the balcony or with you behind the stage, backstage, are so key. I feel like everyone in the arena carries weight, no matter where it is that they are positioned. So thank you so much to each and every woman who has truly, stepped out of her comfort zone to come and be a resource to us all. There are so many, oh my goodness, so many gems that have been dropped. And when I tell you, I'm not even trying to plug the Get My Life tour, but I really want you to go back and get what you need. Please bookmark whatever it is that you need to save, download, whatever the case may be. But go get what you need. That is what the Get My Life tour is all about, right? Showing up, receiving, and then continuing on your journey. I can't say it enough. Every stop on this tour is designed to help you show up for yourself. I'm stumbling, right? When I first was designing the Get My Life tour, I thought that saying that taking center stage in your life or showing up for yourself was something that was extremely selfish. I was like, well, I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to take away from the Most High or have people position themselves in some, blasphemous way or whatever the case may be. And, it was brought to my attention that there's nothing wrong with being and then for being who you are. So many people try to make us feel bad about being. What? Where you get that from? Okay. And some people will call universalism and all these other things or whatever the case may be. But the fact that we are created, right, and called and put on assignment and have our purposes means that we have to just be. When I think about all the things that I've learned over the years and from the mic drop moments, oh my goodness, I think about how important it is truly to make your way to center stage. It is so interesting about how stages are created, right? How they're designed. And how we shrink ourselves when we have the opportunity to step on stage. And one of the many things that I've learned since being on tour is to honestly take up space. For so long, I didn't think there was any room for my voice in this podcast industry, and that there was just so much noise that I had to be louder than, and that has not been the case. You know, my inflection, my tone, those who I speak to, the messages that I have really made room for me in life, on this metaphorical stage, and on this tour. You know, I envision being able to go from city to city and sit down with women and men and have these conversations. And I've been able to do so. You know, my gift has truly made room for me. And, you know, just going back to the stage, I have really paid attention to the way that my posture is when I walk into different rooms, or when I'm having conversations about, you know, the conversations that I'm having here on the Get My Life tour with others. It has been mind blowing. It has been refreshing. It has been aligning for me. Being on tour has been an experience of alignment. Last month, I left my job and I was like, oh, I'm back on tour. But I was wondering how it was going to be different. I was like, okay, I don't want to, you know, just repeat these cycles and have similar experiences and X, Y, and Z. And I really feel like I was positioned uniquely, again, on this Get My Life tour, even though I was on the Get My Life tour, to truly show up, let people know who I was, take up space, and be okay with having my own microphone, right? Not waiting for the equipment to come in or someone to do a sound check and tell me this was a go or let's do that again, right? Having my own, right? And that microphone being this platform, right? That stage, and, you know, everything just being my own. My eyes are closed right now while I'm speaking to you because I'm really visualizing myself there. And I don't know who you are, but I'm visualizing that you are in the room as well. So my heart is full, right? Saying yes to the Get My Life tour, saying yes to allowing other people to come with me, saying yes to being consistent, and truly requiring of myself what I require of others, for having a quality standard, for choosing character over celebrity. All these things are so important to me, and I'm so glad that you've been a part of it. Oh my, I am so grateful. You know, in the next 50 stops on the Get My Life tour, in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9, a year, I can't wait to come out this pandemic and truly go ham with y'all. You know, I see it. I see, you know, these different venues being sold out and these conversations being had, and others really making the decision to show up for themselves and to get their lives. There have been so many different learning experiences, oh my God, about protecting what is mine, about just remaining authentic and fearless in my pursuit of being here on tour. There have been people who have, you know, come alongside of me and have tried to snub me or think that they can do what I do better. And I'm like, Lydia, no one can outdo you being who you are. And it has been, some things have been laughable. Other things have made my heart smile. And I'm so grateful. You know, I also just want to read a couple of things that people have said about the Get My Life tour, which has been truly refreshing for me, because you never know what people think. And I'm just like, okay, why not? So I'm going to read a review, and I am pulling it up, so bear with me. But I just want to read some of the messages from people. And it always catches me off guard, right? Because I never know what people are thinking. You know, I'm always sharing ways to stay connected with me in the Get My Life Tour. So when people actually leave reviews and say what they say, I'm just like, wow, thank you for taking the time to do that, right? Sarah Watkins wrote, Lydia is a gem, a voice like no other, and one of the most thought-provoking voices of our generation. Wow, thank you. What a wonderful podcast, filled with content that gets the mind flowing and keeps you on your toes. A fave. Thank you so much, Sierra. Introvert 1993 wrote about trust and believe as you pivot. Such a refreshing conversation about pivoting in life and having faith while you do it. Love this podcast. Thank you so much. Okay, one last one. And I actually pulled this from social media. It was a message that I got. Let's see. I just wanted to let you know that your podcast is life right now. I discovered you on LinkedIn and I've been listening since. Please keep dishing out this great content. Oh my, that is so sweet. And there have been more messages on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Twitter, on the different platforms where people can leave messages and reviews. It makes my heart smile to know that how I am showing up here on tour is helping others. I'm truly appreciative. And you know what you appreciate appreciates. And the value that is placed on the Get My Life tour is unquantifiable. So thank you. As I think about my mic drop moment, what comes to mind is it doesn't matter who shows up for you. What matters is how you show up for yourself. Winning and showing up is not a spectator sport. So you can't pay attention to those who literally show up to see if you're going to play a small or win or whatever the case may be. What is important is how you show up. Oh my, there is so much coming from the Get My Life tour. I am planning 2021. I am building my team. And I'm just thinking of different ways to engage with you where you are so that we can keep going. And that looks so many different ways. If you want to know more about how you can stay connected and join me here on the Get My Life Tour, of course, visit thegetmylifetour.com. Connect with me on social at the Get My Life Tour on all platforms with the exception of Twitter because it is at Get My Life Tour since the Get My Life Tour was too long. And then, of course, check out what I'm doing at lydiatblanco.com. Stay connected with me on all social platforms at Lydia T. Blanco. And let me know what it is that you think. Look, it is episode 50. I would love for you to share your thoughts with me. What would you like to see from the Get My Life tour? Where would you like me to go? Who would you like to hear from? Let's do this together, okay? And of course, subscribe to the Get My Life Tour podcast. We're going to be launching this newsletter very soon with some exciting new merchandise and all these other things. You looking for some freebies? We got that. You know, I'm just looking forward to the next stops on the Get My Life tour, to more incredible guests, more intimate and deep, forward-thinking conversations, and all that is to come. I, have this great vision, and I can only imagine what this turns into, but I'm so glad that you decided to journey with me. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening with your hearts. And until the next time, it has been real. Peace.